Hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit today about how I practice cEDH. This is going to involve mostly mulligans, and we're going to use Blue Farm as sort of the vehicle for our testing. So what I like to do is get some dice. This is going to indicate our mulligan, and kind of set up just like I would be playing a game of cEDH. I've also got my deck list in front of me here on my monitor, so this helps me think about like what cards I need to tutor for and stuff like that. Yeah, so let's just get into it. Basically, we're going to grab a couple of hands and see whether we keep or pitch. So we got 7 here. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got City of Traders, Cavern of Souls, Scalding Tarn, Mystical Tutor, Wheel of Fortune, Misstep, and Flusterstorm. To me, this hand is okay, but not something I really want to keep on a 7. We've got Flusterstorm and Misstep, which don't really help us out with our game plan of doing something worthwhile on turns 1 and 2. They're pretty defensive, so we can stop a aggressive push, or we can protect our wheel, but I don't think that like playing a Scalding Tarn on 1 and then mystical tutoring and then playing a City of Traders into a wheel is like really what we want to do, or even just a turn 2 wheel. TNK is not really a deck that relies on this type of strategy, so in that case I would keep going and go to our second 7. Alright, so in this hand we've got Force of Will, Rite of Flame, Rhystic Study, Thassa's Oracle, Final Fortune, Command Tower, and Flare of Duplication. In a second 7, this is definitely not what we're looking for. While it has what approximates a turn 2 Rhystic Study with Command Tower, Rite of Flame, and Rhystic, it doesn't definitely have it because we don't have a second land or another mana source. My personal philosophy is I don't look at the top card of my library. When I look at a hand like this, I rely on looking at the hand and having the hand present what I need. And I just evaluate based on this. So there's no reason for us to take a risk on a land here. And while it might pay off, is overall inconsistent to do that. So let's strip this hand back. We'll go down to 6 and see if we can find a better hand. All right, so we shuffle up. Let's get our 6. There's 3 and 4. That's 7. City, Savins, land, Fluster, Pyro. This is still not quite it. So when you're starting to go down into lower mulligans, obviously we're not presented with anything that approximates a game plan in hand. But I'm also starting to look at, okay, well, I have City for mana, I have 2 lands. Do I have like a Tymna game plan here? And the answer is still no, unfortunately. So this is where we go down to 5. All right, so let's get our 5. It's 4 and 3. It's 7. This is not the worst hand I've ever seen. So Ragavan is an early Tymna attacker. Flusterstorm can potentially defend against an early Naws from an opponent. And Force of Negation, Floodcaller, these don't seem like they do a whole lot here. So I would say this is an acceptable keep on 5. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but basically we have turn 1 Ragavan, turn 2 Tymna. Unfortunately, we don't get to draw a card with Tymna, so it's not the greatest thing, but I would probably keep something like, yeah, I would probably bin these 2 or bottom these 2. And from this point, we can play out and see what it's like and see whether it kind of makes sense or not for us to keep this. So we've got Otawara, Mana Confluence, Watery Grave, and Fluster and Ragavan. All right. Let's see where this leads us. We'll probably just take a turn or 2 and see where it goes. Okay. Badlands, Another land is not great, so we'll play Badlands, play Ragavan. Turn 2, we'll untap, draw. Okay, Lotho's pretty solid here. So I'd like to get Lotho on as soon as possible. So we're going to swing Ragavan. We'll make a treasure. Here's our treasure. And ideally we don't want to use this treasure. We want to bank mana as much as possible. So we'll play out our Mana Confluence and we'll play Lotho. Presumably, turn 2 Lotho, we'd probably make 2 additional treasures. So we'll bump this up to 3. And obviously we're not counting the Ragavan card here, but we'll untap. We'll draw. Oh my goodness, so many lands. I mean, it's just unfortunate, but like, you're presented with the plan of, oh well, I'm going to make mana and, you know, play my commanders and just try to draw cards the best I can. Polluted Delta, we can go fetch a land. I'm going to fetch a Tundra here in case we need a double white, but it really doesn't matter because we have so many treasures. This is a graveyard. Right now we don't have a way to proc Lotho ourselves, so really what we're just going to do is we're going to tap here, play Tymna, we'll go to combat, we'll see if we can get in with both of these, let's just presume we do. Draw 2 more cards from Tymna. Man, we've got a lot of mana. So actually we do have a way to proc Lotho and play an additional card. So what we'll do is we'll play Opal here, create another treasure, and then we'll play Crom. While this is not a great place to be, it's not my favorite place, but like we went down to 5, and you can see that we have what resembles a plan, and we've got a land drop each turn. We have some additional mana on board here with Lotho, and potentially this Mox Opal. And then we've got card draw. So hopefully Crom will draw some more cards, we'll make some more mana with Lotho. And if we can stave off dying or losing the game with our Flusterstorm, and funnily enough, this Otawara only costs 1 blue to channel. We have 4 legends, so it's not the worst plan, not the worst place to be. If we untap and we draw another card, oh goodness, it's a Mox Amber. So play Amber, go to combat, we would draw 2 or 3, silence. Looks like we're just playing the control plan until we can get something online here. Alright, let's take a look at another hand and see if we can get something better going. I do want to say, before I reset and we go back to 7, an option there is definitely not just keeping the Ragavan hand and continuing to mulligan down. Mulliganing to 4 and 3 is definitely possible in this deck, and usually you're not punished too hard for it, but it just kind of depends on whether you're like attempting to play safer or you're really trying to get that, you know, convert that win, or I guess just what you're trying to do in general. So mulling lower is always an option, unless you're mulling down to 2 or 1. Even then, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? But yeah, let's take a look at our first 7. Command Tower, Mana Vault, Mox Opal, Land, Wheel, Demonic Tutor. Interesting. Let's think about what this represents here. Command Tower, Vault, Opal. That means if we just play this out, let's assume we're not drawing for turn. We can play this and this. And the next turn we can play land and Demonic Tutor. This is, we'll have 1, 2 floating here. That seems like a turn 2 Rhystic Study to me, and that is pretty good. So let's keep this hand. So we've got our hand. We will draw for turn. Jeez, Underworld Breach. That's pretty cool. Let's fetch for an Underground Sea on this. We'll play Opal, and we'll play Mana Vault. Underground Sea and Tundra are the lands I find myself trying to go for most in this deck. And it obviously depends on your hand. Luckily, we have another fetch land and a command tower which taps for anything. But yeah, let's untap. We'll draw for turn. Gamble, that's pretty good. This is allowing us to assemble some sort of early breach line here with Wheel of Fortune, DT. The safest play is Ristic Study. And we can go for like a grinding station play earlier. But let's do Ristic Study because that's what we talked about. Actually, let's do that. I think we'll do for, we need black and a blue here. And we're gonna need a red eventually, so let's do a volcanic on this guy. We'll cast our Demonic Tutor, tapping this, and we'll float 2 mana here. We will grab our Ristic Study. We'll put Demonic Tutor in grave, tap this volcanic, use our 2 floating, and we'll cast Ristic Study. Hopefully it will resolve given that it's turn 2. And if it doesn't, like, it's not the end of the world. We have a pretty solid hand here, but the problem is that Vault is tapped. So it's kind of hard for us to pivot into this stuff without the extra colorless from Vault. But on a turn 2 study, on this turn cycle before it gets back to us, we're probably drawing 3 cards. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. See what we draw. Vamp, Voice, LED. This is fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't have a white here, but we have a command tower for a white, so that's pretty solid. And then we'll draw for turn. Simian Spirit Guide is mana. That feels really good. We'll take 1 from here. We're definitely going to play a land for turn. Yeah, I think we just full send a breach here. So what we'll do is, let's do it this way. We'll exile this Spirit Guide for a red, tap Command Tower for a white, play Voice, assuming no responses, tap these 2, we'll play Breach, we'll play LED. Because we only have so many cards in the library, it's probably the safest thing for us to do is just wheel right now, because that nets us cards. And what we can do is we can exile these 2 lands in the Simian Spirit Guide. We'll use this 3 red, and we'll cast Wheel of Fortune. We will draw 7. Here's 6, and 7. Not too bad. We can cast a Petal. We don't have any red floating anywhere. Can crack Petal for a red, cast a Ragavan. Tap this, sack Ragavan, cast a Culling, go to 4 black, cast LED, exiling 1, 2. I don't think we need Ragavan anymore, but we'll just keep it for now. We definitely don't need a Silence. There goes Silence. And we can cast Demonic Tutor of 1, 2, 3 cards. Here's our graveyard, these 5 cards. We will find a Brain Freeze off of that Demonic Tutor, and then using the LED and a black, we'll make 3 blue, use 1 black and 1 blue, cast this pitching, Ragavan, Wheel of Fortune, and Gamble. And we will be able to mill ourselves for a good chunk. And then we will continue this loop, milling out our opponents, and then we'll use Fairy Mastermind and make them each draw a card. Obviously, when you're running mulligans like this, you're taking a lot of factors into account where you're just assuming things like I'm not getting silenced when I'm casting my Voice of Victory and attempting to convert that into a win. But it is really helpful to, especially when you're pushing early wins, like it's pretty unlikely that people are going to have interaction, especially for a creature like that. So it's okay to assume these things, and that doesn't mean that like I win the game that many times, but playing through your line and being comfortable with how you step through things, what you tutor for, when you tutor for it, and like stuff like that just helps you clean up your gameplay a lot. And then you start to write these patterns into your head when you're looking at cards and you're looking at your 7. You're going, like this is okay, but then you start to associate these like, okay, well I see part of a win con here with Thassa's Oracle. I see protection or stopping somebody else with silence. And we've got mana, more protection, and more mana. But like, while these cards are powerful and individually they're strong, I don't see a reason to keep this hand because I don't think this hand develops us into anything. And there's no point in me looking at the top card of my library because this hand is telling me everything I need to know about whether I should keep it or not. So, given that it's our first 7, we'll go down to our second 7. All right, let's take a look at our second 7. 3 and 4. Land, extra turn, tutor, breach, and generic value. This is interesting. I'm not really sure where this develops us because if we play scrub land, we tutor, we play another land, we could develop into like a fish and sit behind a fish for a little while. And that's okay. But having breach and this in hand with no protection, it's not my favorite thing. I'm almost looking for like, there's no way to get like a turn 2 Necro or turn 2 Ristic Study here. So it's just okay. I think I would try for a 6 on this hand. Okay, let's look at 6. Land, tutor, protection, land, chain, protection. Well, at worst, this is a turn 3 Necro or turn 3 Ristic. Because we've got 3 mana sources, a 2 mana tutor, and what would we put on bottom here? I think we just put chain on bottom if we were to keep this. But this is a pretty slow game plan. And it's okay. Like if we were down to 4, I would keep this hand here. Land, DT. But because we're on 6, I feel like the correct thing to do is to mulligan down to 5. Okay, let's take a look at our 5. There's 6 and land, misstep, land. Man, this Voice of Victory is crazy. So on a 5, we're looking at like turn 2 Voice into turn 3 Timna. And that's not terrible, given that it'll probably draw us 3 cards. But just having this much mana is really not great. Or at least this type of mana. Just having land go every turn. But we can see how it plays out. So if we're trying to go for an early breach, what we can do is keep the fetches here. Keep Ancient Tomb. And really, to develop, we need that much in a misstep. Another option is ditching a misstep for another land, but I think this is fine given that this is 4 mana on turn 3. So let's try that. We'll put these two on the bottom. And honestly, if I were really pressed here, I think I would probably mulligan down to 4. But as far as 5 goes, it's not the worst thing. My main concern with keeping a voice is just somebody else copying it, and then the table not being able to interact. Like, Kinnins are notorious for this. So if I were against a Kinnin or a deck that I think would copy it, I'd probably not keep this hand. But let's see where it leads us. Mystical Tutor. That's interesting. So we'll fetch here, get a Underground Sea. No, we need a Tundra. So we'll get a Tundra off of... You know what? This can get us a black. So we'll fetch a Tundra off this Windswept. So before we pass to our next turn, let's think about if there's a instant or sorcery that is going to help us. Because we're going to play Voice still on this turn. Is there an instant or sorcery that can help us progress our game plan? Looking at the list here, we're 1 mana short of Adnaz with these 4. That seems pretty reasonable. I think another option is just going for another tutor and seeing if we can get like a better, like upgrade our tutor to like a demonic tutor or something like that. But I think in this case, yeah, let's end step tutor for Nas. Okay, so we found Nas. This is going to go on top of our library. We will draw it for turn. Play our fetch land, and we'll get a Badlands on this. Well, we kind of need double black for Nas too, don't we? That's kind of tough. Yeah, I think we can just get a Badlands here. Get a Badlands. We'll play out our voice. The table will go, oh my goodness. Are you going for a win? And I'll be like, dude, I have 3 cards in hand. Anyway, they pass back to us. We will draw a card. It's an Exotic Orchard. Okay. This is actually pretty good. So I think what we do here, instead of revealing that we have Tomb, because we can keep off of our Nas mana for a while, we can just play out Tomb and be like, look, we need to voice with Timna. Just to draw cards. So we'll swing voice. Let's say we just draw 2. We'll draw 2. It's Petal and Arcane Signet. I don't even think I'm playing out Petal because there's literally no incentive to do so at the moment. We'll just untap and draw for turn. Okay, it's another land. So now we go Tomb, Petal, Nas. And so we fetched twice, and we've drawn 2 cards, and we're taking 2 here. So we're at 34. See if our Nas gets us anywhere, because we don't need a whole lot. And we have card draw here too. We could have just drawn and then Nas, but it's okay. 2, so 32, 29, 28, 27, 26, 24, 22, 21, 18, 15, 13, 11, 9, 8, 5. So we've got 1 mana with Petal. We can go to combat and pay 2 more life to draw 2 more cards. We have another mana here. We've got some burst mana with Cabal Ritual and tutors. I think, yeah, we convert this Oz very easily. So let's go to combat, and we'll get in for, let's say -1, we'll be at 4. We also have to be careful that this voice doesn't die to combat damage or a combat trick. But we'll draw 3. Okay. Amber helps here. So run out Amber. We'll exile Simian Spirit Guide for a red. Here. Play LED. There's really not much for us to chain at the moment, so we don't need to worry about that. We'll cast Snapback targeting Timna. Sack this LED for a blue, hold priority on it, and cast Offer, pitching Misstep. Make 2 treasures. So we have +1 our mana here, 2 treasures, and we're at 4 life. Let's check our Cabal Writ. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exactly Cabal Writ. Tap Amber for a black, use a red, cast Cabal Ritual, go to 5 black. This is our graveyard here. So 5 black, 2 treasures, and an LED. We should be able to convert that into a win pretty easily, but we can cast this Vault. We'll use our other tutor, Demonic Tutor. Tap Vault for 3, use a black, go down to 2, cast Demonic Tutor. We'll tutor up Underworld Breach. And proceed to Underworld Breach combo with LED, Demonic Tutor, and all of these cards in our hand. We also just have Intuition. We can use Intuition to get Breach, Brain Freeze. We already have Savins as well. So it's pretty easy to convert this pile. We also have another tutor from hand directly. We can just go right here. And actually, it's as simple as we have Thassa Oracle mana too, so we can just use 2 blue here, cast Tan Impact here. With Voice, you have to be careful that no one has an activated ability on a creature to make you draw a card, because this is not Grand Abolisher, but it is pretty strong. So this is how you turn like a keep on 5 or 4 into a winning state, and it's by playing like the more proactive line. You're like looking for things to convert your win. And yeah, I think this is like pretty solid. But what I would recommend is you can do this with any deck. Grab a deck, sit here, and you can even just talk to yourself. And like I said, you have to make assumptions about board state and just how the turns play out. But really, you're looking to play selfishly and figure out your line or figure out what your game plan is. Once you have a game plan, you don't have to stick to it. You can reevaluate as you're in game. You know, look at the conditions and say, do I need to go for something else? Do I need to tutor for something else? That kind of thing. But I find this really helpful. I kind of try to do this maybe once a day or twice a day, and it really just smooths out like my mulligans that I have to think about like where things put me, because I think that one of the things cEDH players struggle with a lot is mulligans. And if you are starting to assume that like, oh, well, I'll just draw, the land I need off the top of my library, and that fixes my hand, maybe that's true. But given that most cEDH decks run 20 to 28 lands, kind of depends on where you're at, probably like 24 to 28 lands. What's the actual likelihood of you drawing another land? It's pretty low. So I would just try not to look at the top card of your library when you're resolving your mulligans. Don't put that information into your brain of, oh, well, if I kept it, it would have been fine because I have that card on top. This card on top is always garbage to me. Like, I don't want to know what it is. I don't want to think about it. It doesn't matter what this is, whether I keep my 7 or not, or my 5 or whatever. One other strategy I talk about in my coaching sessions is looking at a hand of, let's say, look at this and go, okay, would I keep this 7? And there's definitely an answer to that, right? I think it's probably not a great 7 to keep, but yeah, I wouldn't keep this on a 7, right? But then you go, okay, well, if this were a 5, would I keep it? I think that math starts to change a little bit, because then you go, okay, well, let's see. I actually have a tutor, and I have a creature that attacks for Timna in this case with this deck. And I have a Timna plan, I have a voice plan, I can get the voice out early. And your math starts to change a little bit. So what I like to do is start to evaluate your hand based on whether you would keep it on 5 or not, even if it is your 7. And that helps you to start thinking, like align your thinking to a competitive mindset. So this is just a little bit about, not necessarily Blue Farm. I know I use the Blue Farm as a tool here to talk about mulligans and stuff like that. But if you found this video helpful, please leave a comment. If I messed up in any of my lines or anything like that, you can leave a comment too. What you can't see from here is that the camera is directly in front of my line of vision. So if it's taking me a second to like move my head to be like, oh, this card's like, that's an exotic orchard. But hopefully it came out okay. And if you like this type of video, I can always record more, and I can do it with a different deck or, whatever you want. But the other cool thing is, if you've got Moxfield, I've got Moxfield up here, you can always do this in the playtester. And the cool thing about this is you can playtest on mobile, or you can playtest on like your iPad or your laptop or something like that, just in your downtime. And you go, cool, this is a 7. It's like, oh, I don't have a white for this Esper Sentinel here. I only have an Underground Sea. So I think I would ship that. And you can just hit the restart button. Confirm you want to restart. And then go through your hands that way. And I think if you're looking to play cEDH at the highest level and in a very competitive manner, I would probably recommend just doing some practice and trying to practice as much as you can, because it's really not going to hurt you unless you're like intentionally giving yourself like all the buffs and you're like, okay, well, here's my perfect sculpted 7, and then if I play over 6 study, that means I'm drawing like 6 cards. Like, be realistic with yourself. Try not to do those things, because that's going to push you in the wrong direction. But the more you get familiar with your deck, and the more you handle your deck and handle your cards in person, you start to imprint these things into your brain, and you start to flex those like memory muscles, and that's really what you should be doing. So I think that's all for now for this video. But if you found it helpful, please leave a comment or chat with me about it. And I guess we'll just see you in the next video. Bye-bye.